Bebop and Dominate. How you doing today?
How are you doing today?
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of our podcast, Life as We Know It.
And where are we today?
Okay, now, once we say where we are, you're going to say typical Jonathan and his beer. We're at a brewery in El Segundo called 5.5 Brewery, and it's awesome. But we're not talking about beer today, specifically.
Nope. This week, we're going to take a little different take on how we do the podcast. And we're, as Jonathan said, but we're also going to start talking about a great interview that we conducted a number of weeks ago, and we're finally getting to editing it. And it's basically about a very nice lady by the name of Joanna Garel, who owns the Garel Fine Art Gallery over in Manhattan Beach. And to get into that, we kind of thought we'd talk about our own personal art collections and maybe our art journeys, how we got here. You know what? We need to take a break.
Okay.
Do it again.
We'll be right back. Keep that good.
Welcome back to Life as We Know It, our podcast that shines a light on individuals and groups, small local businesses and organizations making a difference in our community and around the world. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can find us at Life as We Know It Podcast 123 on Instagram. And also, if you want the real deal, the full Monty, the full us on YouTube, you can find us at Life as We Know It, Jonathan and Don.
But we won't be full Monty, but
no,
you know, he did say full Monty.
I did, but I meant all of us, so you can get a load of us.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. So anyway, we're going to be talking a little bit about our own art collections because, as I said, we have an interview coming up with the wonderful Joanna Garel from Garel Fine Art Gallery in Manhattan Beach. And I guess, if you don't mind jumping in.
No, go for it.
I think I started collecting art a long time ago because I used to go and volunteer in San Francisco at a thing called the Sausalito Art Fair.
Okay.
And if you were a volunteer, you got in for free, and you got free glasses of champagne if you took the garbage out, or maybe you were directing people or something.
Perks.
But I got to tell you, the one time I went, I found this one artist. His name is Jamie. And he is actually out of Oregon, I believe. And he had the most amazing art. And it was, I don't even know how to describe what it is. It's basically, it's painting, but it's to a very realistic viewpoint. So it actually looks, it's not abstract, it's actually scenes. And what really caught me was that he had one particular painting, which I ended up buying, which was him as a small child in his backyard, had his grandparents' pool in Palm Springs. Okay. And it was one of those things that just really caught me. And, you know, at the time it was a lot of money for me, but I bought it anyway. So the good thing is that I really enjoyed his art. And I came back a couple of years later and actually bought 3 more pieces from him.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, I got to say, where I started to find this. And now it's just grown and grown and grown. And recently in our house, we bought some very large format pieces of art by another artist. I'll put some pictures up on the screen as we edit this to show you what they're like. But they're large format. They're a bit more abstract. But I got to say, our tastes are kind of all over the place. We don't focus on one type of art, but sometimes it's very graphic. Sometimes it's abstract. But it just, I think it's very subjective when it comes to about what your art collection looks like. And I have to give this to you, too, because having come to see you're in Sonia's house, I've noticed your art collection, too.
Well, I've been really lucky. Sonia and I have been fortunate because my mother left her art to her 3 kids, and we split it up 3 ways. And a lot of it is indigenous art. One of the artists is Benjamin Chichi. He was he was Ojibwe, which is indigenous to northern Ontario and that area, and it's like Canada geese. It's minimal, and it's just like these sweeping lines, and it's the kind of stuff I couldn't afford to buy, and that's always been my. I mean, you describing that piece, I have had that when I walked into galleries, like I would do anything for that painting or that piece. And it's not a lot of them. It's usually that one grabs you right away.
Yep.
It hits you harder than a song that you like or a movie that you dig. And I would love to I've never been in that position to like buy that and start amassing art.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really lucky that my mother gave us that beautiful art. And it's, we have a small house, so it wasn't hard to fill the walls. And that's another thing. If I could buy all the pieces I want, I would have to have a couple of houses.
I have to say, though, I was really taken with him for one of just the story of how you came into those pieces of art, because they come from your family. They did come from your family.
Right.
That has huge sentimental value.
Yeah, because we grew up with them. They were on the walls.
They're also beautiful pieces of work. If you take a chance to look at them, I can truly appreciate just the skill and the way that they were done.
Well, and I love that you say that. So when we moved them from Canada to here, we had to redo the glass because of the glare from the Southern California sun. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's just going to fade like this. And that's not cheap to redo all your pieces, but found this plate. I'll have to get the name. We'll put the name in the show notes later, because it's up in Palos Verdes, and this lovely British woman, she saw the art, and I'm going to try to hold it together, and she just said, "Oh my God, look at this." And the passion that she had when she saw the pieces, and how she gently just touched the glass and the frame, and she said, art says so much about the person that purchases it. And I tell you, she got misty when she saw it, which had me going, because that was soon after my mother passed. But that's when I thought, I want that kind of connection to art. And then I did get it through my mother, but I'd like more.
Yeah, and I think it's more that we put ourselves in front of art as much as we possibly can. But on another note, I think the point that someone else was affected by it, it's like how art affects you is truly subjective and very personal. Yeah. And of course, your connection to it because of your family was one thing, but also seeing someone else's reaction to your family's
who I would consider a so-called expert on art.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what she does. And she's been there 30 years or something like that. And just the care that she took with it, and how she stood back and she took it at different depths. Blew my mind.
Okay, so have you ever thought about becoming an artist or drawing it?
Many times. And I've made a few attempts, and they're just awful.
Yes.
It's like, Jonathan, you can play drums, stay in your lane. You can write books, stay in that lane. Okay. Well, let me get a sketchbook. I got a bunch of sketchbooks, and each one has awful.
Okay, but I've got a quick story, because as you know, I've been obsessing with Mike Birbiglia's podcast. Okay. And recently he had on a guest who was the woman who actually was the illustrator for the Samin Nosrat cookbook. Her name is McNaughton. Okay. I think it's Wendy McNaughton. But she actually came on, and she's an art teacher, but also she was one of the first women to be hired to be an illustrator for the New York Times. Okay. She also was one of the first people to go and literally illustrate Guantanamo Bay and the prisoners there for the New York Times. And it was a very interesting story, because it's quite, I guess, she said it was very stressful. Moving. She said it was very moving, very, very difficult to do, and she said she would not do it again.
Oh, I guess
because of all the trauma and...
Will you take it with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. But I thought it was a very interesting thing. The reason why I mentioned her, and of course Mike Birbiglia, who I am obsessed with, was that she had a very interesting story about how she teaches people. Because if we were going to say, what's your style? Like, what's your style? If you were going to paint or draw something, do you have a style?
No, there's no style.
I would like to have a style. And she kind of made a great, a parallel about how to do this. So she actually teaches people to draw sometimes. So she says the drawing actually is basically you have to get a pencil or a paper and you literally look at another person and you don't look at what you're drawing and you spend all that time looking. And it's kind of the same thing. And I know this is weird.
It can't work. Well, for me.
The thing is, it's not about it. There's no such thing as a good or a bad painting.
Well, I can show you some.
Well, actually, I just found about that. Okay, so I found about a museum that actually highlights bad paintings.
I will be the exception to the rule.
But my point is that, you know, like if you're trying to find your style, like if you can appreciate a painting for the style, like the one I mentioned that I bought from Jamie, that's one thing, or the ones that you inherited from your family. I'd love to paint in that style, but I don't know if that's my style. She equated it with handwriting. Okay, so nobody told you to write. Not literally your handwriting. So she said, your handwriting is your handwriting. And you know, people just said, start writing. And of course, in grade school, you had lessons about how to write. But you just continually kept writing and kept writing and kept writing. And the thing is that handwriting is also just as individual as painting style. So your handwriting, which looks nothing like my handwriting, mine is awful, by the way, but our handwritings look nothing alike. And that's kind of how you can develop your own personal painting or drawing style. If you were to continue just drawing, you're not drawing because you're never going to make the perfect painting. It's the journey towards. So I'm just saying that, again, it's very subjective. It can be very, very cool to find that. I'm also a little tempted to want to try and do that.
Well, you know what? My brother-in-law, shout out to Dave Leben, basically just very recently, I don't know if he went on YouTube or he took a class or something like that. I got another client, shout out to Boo Boo, that's his name. Boo Boo. And yeah, these cats are just doing these quick little classes and they're badass right off the bat. I think that they have it in them already.
Yes.
Or they don't, but I know there's nothing in me and I tried. So I might give it a shot.
I think we should give it a try one time and literally just look at each other and draw for 10 minutes. And it doesn't matter what the painting or what the drawing or the sketch looks like. It's basically learning how to do it. And if you keep doing it, just like your handwriting, you have your own signature style.
And Don will post his work on YouTube.
So speaking of that, I was very excited because I was able to have an interview with Joanna Garel from Garel Art Galleries over in Manhattan Beach. And we sat for a good 45 minutes talking about her passion for her art gallery, but also her passion for art. Quick side story, which we'll talk about in the interview, was that we actually had met each other a couple of years previously at a coffee shop on Manhattan Beach. And she was showing her art, and she was just this wonderful, effusive, high energy lady who was talking about art, and she was just very easy to talk with. And what I loved about finding out that she was actually opening up an art gallery was to drive by and see the art gallery starting up. And I said, oh my gosh, that's the same lady. Joanna, thank you so much. You were so gracious to allow me to come in and speak with you. So right now we're going to take a look at the interview that you and I had at your wonderful art gallery, showing at that time what you were displaying and what you were actually highlighting. The interesting thing about Joanne is that she actually is a curator for art, which means that, and she'll explain that a bit in the interview, is that she also guides people on about how to purchase and possibly invest in art for the long term.
I'd like to meet her.
So sit back and enjoy this great interview with Joanna. Hi, Joanna.
I'm Joanna. Come in. Welcome to Garel Fine Art, my new contemporary fine art gallery in Manhattan Beach.
So Joanna,
yes,
very nice to see you in your own gallery and sit down with me and share your space at the Garel Fine Art Gallery itself. Now, I want to bring up a quick story. We met by chance about a year or two ago at Two Guns Coffee before they closed on Pacific Coast Highway.
Yes, you did.
And I noticed you had art there when we were driving up for our coffee, and I was so taken by the color and the graphic nature and all the things that were kind of maybe your signature in artwork too. But I think it's very interesting to see now that we spend 2 years later, we're showing up in your very own gallery. So thank you so much for sitting down and taking time to speak with me.
You're welcome. It's a dream come
that.
true, definitely.
Okay, so one of the first questions I have, because this is a very eclectic space, what is the vision for your gallery?
So for Garel Fine Art, I wanted to bring a new art destination to Manhattan Beach from a Filipino woman of colors lens. And I thought that it would be a refreshing addition to the artist landscape, to the art landscape in the Southbay. And it's been a really fun experience because I'm able to curate something that's different, I think, from what would normally be found in the Southbay area. And I take pride in the fact that I'm able to control that and guide what people are able to see at the gallery.
And now, when I first discovered you, it actually was from Riley Arts Gallery, because you had your own style and were doing a series of lifeboard towers.
Yes.
And you've come a long way from that. I'm thinking, are you still producing that art, or are you more focused on curating the gallery right now?
Right now I'm definitely more focused on curating the gallery, because there are so many artists that I wish I could just show everybody in the world. But I do paint. I love to paint. It's very therapeutic. And it's interesting because the painting and curating, they're both very therapeutic for me. I love them both equally. But of course, one is more collaborative and the other one is more individual.
So another question, what advice or words of wisdom can you pay forward to women who would like to start their own small business?
My biggest thing is just don't overthink it. If you have the means, you do need, to be a little bit creative with capital. I think just go for it, because I feel that life is short and every opportunity should be taken, and I hate to be cliche about it, but you only regret the shots that you don't take.
Yes.
I think that's one, or you only miss the shots that you don't take.
Yep.
And I've always lived by that tenet in my entire life. If I felt that there was an urge for me to do something for whatever reason, I would just do it. And it's been a very satisfying journey. And so don't overthink it and just go for it. But at the same time, I am a very big planner. I am still a businesswoman. So you want to be able to plan it out properly without overthinking, if that is that even contradictory?
I don't think so. Now, so unbeknownst to me, I walk down to Hermosa all the time from my house over in South Redondo, and I go to the Starbucks over there in the corner. And I didn't know that I actually was walking past one of your first commissioned murals out there.
Yes.
And then I actually have a picture of it, which I brought back. And I had no idea this was you, having met you a couple of years ago and still knowing that we were having this interview. So I was very excited to see that. Now, you were commissioned early in your career as a muralist. One of your pieces is the one I spoke about in Hermosa Beach. What inspired this particular mural? And also, how did seeing your work on a large scale affect you?
First of all, I was so honored to be chosen to be commissioned to make that painting, because it was the Hermosa Beach Murals Project, and they wanted to do one mural a year for 10 years that supported and had a historical theme to it that was related to Hermosa Beach. And so they approached me and they said, this is our theme, which was 1932 lifeguard towers, 1932 lifeguards in Hermosa Beach. And so I decided I wanted something that was a juxtaposition between stillness and danger. And so that's why I chose the lifeguards that were, when you see it, they're going out in the dory to save.
Movement. You see motion in it.
And then, but yet there's one that's just watching over you in stillness.
Yes, and I noticed when I took photos of it, I like taking pictures from below to see the height of it, and also you can definitely see the motion of the boat as it's crashing into the waves too. So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was it was a true and the biggest honor to be able to have my work there enjoyed by the community.
Yeah. Now, early on, you were helping people with art. What inspired you to take the leap into being your own artist? I know you were helping other people with art, correct? But then what inspired you to becoming your own artist and also showing your own work? Because that's a leap from helping people draw and do things to actually saying, okay, I'm becoming an artist now, I'm going to show my work. How did that happen?
I feel that so I was very involved in hands-on art, young at art. I volunteered to teach kids in the inner city, especially from a grade school level, grade school and middle school. And all that training, I did it for approximately 15, 20, like off and on for 15 to 20 years. And they train you to teach these kids different styles. And I think that informed how I started developing my style. And at the same time, it stoked this fire in me to express myself by painting. And instead of, I was afraid of it for a very long time because I just, I had imposter syndrome. I didn't think I was very good. And after I did that for 20 years, I felt like I had a little bit of I had a great base to start painting. And so I just did it. And I'm so glad I did.
So can you share the story that I read about from Blake, who his father, Ken, discovered your work and then kind of catapulted you?
Yes.
Correct?
Mm-hmm. So his name is Blake Claude. Let's back it up. I decided to start painting. I bought $400 worth of art supplies, and my husband said, "What is going on?" And I said, "I think I'm going to become a painter." And so I'm going to have a show. And my husband said, "Here we go." And so for 3 weeks, I started painting on these two pieces. Painted. After 3 weeks, nothing. The thing was gathering dust. I didn't touch it. And 4 months passed. And my husband said, "What's happening with the painting?" And I said, "I'm having artist block. And then Blake came over for a play date at the age of 8 or 9 with my son. And when his dad came to pick him up, who is Ken Claude, he was the one who actually who started the Hermosa Fine Art Fair, unbeknownst to me at that time. And so when he came to pick him up, they were playing Lego while I was talking to Ken as he was, just making small talk. And his son Blake said, "Hey Dad, you should, she's an amazing artist and you should see her work." And I said, "What are you talking about?" Because they were playing in the playroom where my art was gathering dust, unfinished for the past 4 months. And so that's how Ken just said, "Can I see it?" And I said, No, it's not even finished. And so I said, and then he told me his pedigree. And I said, "You know what? Let's go upstairs and look at it." So we went upstairs and he said, "Oh my gosh, like, do you have a big body of work?" I said, "Yes, 1 and 2.
Now, was this the lifeguard series or was this?
This is a lifeguard series.
Okay.
And so he encouraged me to paint more and to be part of the Hermosa Fine Art Fair. And I sold 5 pieces right away. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm actually a real artist now." Because my first collectors were actually on the board of LACMA, and one of them used to work for the Guggenheim. So that really gave me the wind underneath my sails. Say, "Oh, these are real, actual collectors."
They're acknowledging your
and they were acknowledging
skill and talent.
And for them to want it in their homes, I said, "Oh wow!" So I have to continue.
Listen, I love that series. I want that in my home too. Now, you did note that you're showcasing blue chip artists and also emerging artists in your gallery. How do you choose the artists you feature and in your space? Because I know you said you'd like to show everybody, but how do you pick and choose how to curate your gallery?
Right, so I have it's like a twofold approach. Number one, my husband and I actually are collectors. We started collecting 26 years ago. So we have a nice little collection. And I feel that with that and being an artist and teaching, volunteering for art, I've developed a sense of taste for it, I think. And I think I have a pretty good eye of picking what resonates within me and what I think should be shown. Although I think all art should be shown. Let's correct that. And so what I do is I like the tongue-in-cheek playfulness of the gallery because I will mix a local beginner artist who I think has good talent but hasn't had the exposure yet to somebody who's emerging, and I even have some mid-career, and then I mix it up with some Warhols and Picassos.
Really? Oh my gosh. Oh wow. I'm very, very impressed.
Yes. So I think it's just fun to see it all mixed up instead of being exclusive, and I want it to be inclusive.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have this is almost a personal question because I collect also, but I'm collecting what resonates with me. But you also are a curator, but you also are a consultant, right? So you could actually advise people as to where to go. And how do you ask specific questions, or how do you find out what makes that person tick, so you can actually help personalize or curate their own collections? And I'm going to add to that, because where do you start?
Right.
Where do you start collecting?
So this is actually, I'm glad you asked, because I opened this gallery to also bring awareness to people who might have thought of collecting, but they didn't think it was attainable. I mean, I certainly didn't think it was attainable when I first started. And a lot of people don't realize that there are artists that are actually affordable that could be blue chip, depending on the secondary market, or prints is what I would say. So prints are a good prints are a good way to enter into collecting that you think might appreciate. Like, for example, Ai Weiwei, he is a famous artist. He just released 3 prints, and they were priced at $1,750 a piece, and there's
Really?
99. Yeah, they just released it 2 days ago. So how do I think that if you're going to start collecting, the number one thing is you have to like it. Because if you love something, it doesn't matter if it's going to appreciate or not. And so I think collecting should be, there are 2 types of collectors. There's ones who just collect art because they love the art. They want to be filled with art that resonates with them. And then there are some that love art, but they said, you know what, maybe I could add this to my investing portfolio. And typically art has surpassed the stock market indices. But then it's how do we enter, and how do you figure out what it is?
And I think that's where you were going with the Ai Weiwei lithographs that have been released, because you can start somewhere. Even though he's a well-known artist, he's actually releasing something, and you can actually be part of that, even if it's at the print level and not the original piece, because you think those actually have value and also increase in value.
And they could increase in value. And typically, a lot of these artists that are living today, they will do these editions, and that's a really good way of getting into collecting. And then, of course, I also deal with other different income tax brackets. And so if you can get into, the Warhols right now have really appreciated a lot. And so if you can probably get a good, I don't want to say entry level, but you can get something.
No, but that's nothing wrong. You have to start somewhere,
in the
right?
50s, 40s, $60,000 range. But there are also some smaller ones that you can get for under 20. But Warhols have definitely appreciated a lot.
Yes, and some of his series are not as well known as the others, like the soup cans as opposed to the flower collection.
Exactly.
Types of things. So yes, so you can actually help people navigate towards that too, Chris. So that's one of the services you provide here at the gallery.
It is, yeah. I can guide you to different styles, and also, and then in terms of taste, it's just a matter of getting to know the person. They usually send me pictures of references. I love the whole collaborative aspect of trying to figure out what fits and what doesn't fit with your tastes. And so that's a personalized service that I think everybody should have. Oh, and I would like to note that the reason why I even wanted to do this was when my husband and I first started collecting, we went into different galleries, and there were some very snobby ones, very elitist, which is fine, that works for some collectors, but I wasn't like that. I'm very down to earth and approachable. And I found the Hamilton Soloway in Beverly Hills, they were so approachable as well, and I love their approach, and so I'm emulating that. I want you to be able to be comfortable and happy, and as opposed to afraid of it. A lot of people are very intimidated by it, and I don't want you to be intimidated when you come in here.
And I think that's a great way to introduce people to collecting, because you can actually guide them, as you said, to something that might not be $70,000, but something, a print that's in a limited edition that actually makes them feel good about a purchase too.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. So I noticed with your new exhibition here that you don't limit your art to your gallery in paintings alone, but what other mediums have you shown? Can you tell us about the current offering? We'll take a tour in a minute, but I'd love to know about, right now I see a number of different mediums here that are not just paintings. So maybe you could tell us about what other mediums you embrace, or do you show everything, or does it change?
I think as a curator, what's really important to me is texture. Texture for visual texture. And so I do like to mix it up. I don't discriminate. I like original paintings. I like prints. I like mixed media. I love installations. I love sculpture. And I think as an appreciator of art, I think it's good to have a variation of exposure. And I think that's what I like to bring into the gallery for people who come in, that you'll see, oh, it's different. There's different styles. And that's also to educate them as well.
And something they might not have thought they would enjoy, like a kinetic sculpture or something, they would actually just find some great pleasure in that. So
exactly.
I can't wait till the tour after this.
Yeah,
so as an artist, Joanna, who are your inspiration?
Oh my
Who
goodness.
influences you? Or is it a list of hundreds?
I have my top three.
Okay.
The number one is, I don't know why, but I think it's also my style. The number one influence is Roy Lichtenstein. And so I feel that there's a lot of his style in my personal work. It just resonates with me. I like the whole graphic nature of it. But I also love Wayne Thiebaud. He is one of my absolute favorites. The way he deals with color and shadows and the texture with oil. I could just eat his paintings up because he also paints cakes, so he was famous for. And I especially love a new artist that is, everyone should collect him, but now he sells out so fast, and I actually was able to collect when he first started, and his name is Delphine Finlay. And it's more hyper-realism, but fantastic. He's just the underlying themes, it really just resonates. Okay. And so Delphine Finlay, everybody should try to get one of his pieces if they can.
Now, I'm sure you're a well-traveled person and you've seen a lot of things in different parts of the world and country. Is there a favorite museum, either locally or globally, that you truly enjoy going back to?
I love the fact that I live in LA because my two favorites, actually, I love them all, but I love the Broad.
Yes, I was going to say the Broad.
I love the Hammer. I love Boca, and of course, I love LACMA. Yes. And I am so lucky to have that all here within a half-hour drive. I do love. I go to all museums when I travel, so especially in New York. And recently, I went to the Prado in Spain. Yes. And I could not believe how big it was. I think that will take me one whole week to look at the whole thing. I only saw a section of it.
Yes.
But it is pretty awe-inspiring.
Yes, I feel I've traveled there and been to the Prado also a number of years ago, and I was so inspired and overwhelmed by how much. And also just kind of almost emotional about how much there was to see. And I didn't see it all at one time.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I would have to actually spend more time there, but those are. But yeah, my favorites are, sitting right here in my backyard.
Absolutely, you got a pretty nice one here right now.
Oh, thank you.
So, on a side note, can I ask you to share the story around a book that your cousin Robin Lee wrote titled The Idea of You, which is a worldwide bestseller and a movie starring Anne Hathaway. Now, there was something where your cousin wrote where you were part of the inspiration of this book.
I know.
Is that right?
Yes, I was so honored. So back it up. Before it was a bestseller and before it was a hit movie on Amazon, I was painting and she loved my paintings. So she called me up one day out of the blue back in, I don't know when it was, 2018, I think. And she just said, hey, cuz, I'm writing this book and I wanted to know if I could, use you as a character, as an artist. But I'm going to make you, I'll just put your character in there. And I said, sure, absolutely. I'm not thinking anything. But she literally, which was a foreshadowing, if you read the book and you see how she described the opening night of my show, it was exactly how it was at my opening night here in the gallery. It was like we lived the real life script. So that was mind-blowing to me because she described it to a T, if you were here. So I am an art gallery, an artist.
An inspiration too.
Oh, yes.
Right? Okay, thank you so much, Joanna. I appreciate it. But I have quick responses that I need. I'm gonna give you a choice for a couple. You have to choose one of them. And actually one of them is gonna be tough for you. So I'm gonna say surfing or kayaking?
Oh, surfing.
Volleyball or pickleball?
Volleyball.
Okay. Manhattan, Hermosa, or Redondo Beach?
Manhattan.
Okay. Sunrise or sunset?
Absolutely sunset.
Okay. The beach or the desert?
Oh, beach, 100%.
Okay. Here's the tough one.
Yes.
Warhol, Lichtenstein, Thiebaud, or Basquiat?
Ooh. Thibaut.
Okay, that's what I thought. She mentioned Thibaut.
I love Thibaut so much.
Joanna Garel, thank you very, very much for this
Thank
time.
you.
I'm so excited. This is just, it means a lot to me having known we met a couple years ago, and this is just kismet that has happened this way.
Yes.
So you can find Joanna Garel at Garel Fine Art. She is at 1069 North Aviation Boulevard in Manhattan Beach. You're open from Tuesday through Saturday from 11 to 5 p.m. and also by appointment, correct? So we can actually call you if you'd like a private
Absolutely.
showing. Okay. And that phone number is 310-753-5786. Joanna Garel, thank you so much. This was so lovely. I can't wait to have a full tour.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, Joanna, so here we are at your new exhibit called Juncture. Maybe we could talk about how that name came about and why you chose it.
Yeah, Juncture is basically a timestamp in a part of time. I wanted it to be a coming together of different styles, and especially for these artists, it's a timestamp of a certain part of their life. And I wanted to bring their perspective into that and then to show it through art. And I feel that each piece, I think, really captures their personality and what they were going through at that point in time. And so this is just a juncture of all those experiences.
Okay, that makes sense. So maybe we could walk through and take a look at a few of the pieces?
Absolutely, yes. And so this is by Thomas Ollier, and this is a kinetic sculpture. And he basically wanted to repurpose some found objects, and he actually coded it to be able to do this soothing movement. And he also wanted to emulate a clock without, and I just found it interesting because it's mesmerizing to me.
I do too. It's actually quite soothing because it moves randomly. It's not set like a clock and being continually moving in the same direction.
Yes.
I love that.
And I like the texture of it, the organic nature of it.
Very nice. So let's move on to these other pieces.
And this is Diana Garcia. She is a photographer and artist as well. And I love how she layers to create texture within her pictures. So it's not just, she takes these pictures and she also layers the images within that. So there's digital manipulation, there's a collage, there's photography. She's very dynamic in her work.
I'm going to come a little close so I can see some of the detail, because I noticed this now that you mentioned. I see depth. Oh, there's some depth here.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And if you notice, she made it. It's a palm tree, but it's interspersed with ferns and flowers and birds.
Wow.
So she really has a good eye of melding these things together, and it gives it that certain mood.
Very nice.
And then we have Robin Jack Sarner, and she works in mixed media, and she glued these different pieces together. There's also the subway map, and there's movement in her piece because it also looks like it's like a vantage point, and it looks like it could be even a city or a landscape, but it could be the train.
Yes, I was going to say, it looks like it could be an overview of the train track.
And then this is again Diana, and I like this piece because there's just something about it. I like the sensuality of it, and everything just the way she chose the images, and she also cut the collage to give it some depth. And I like the way the composition is of this one.
Okay.
And then of course we've got Richard Elms. This is Biggie Smalls. And this is pen and ink. So this is all stippling with pen, and then of course he drew these on. So this took a very long time to do, because those are all individual dots that he did by hand. Richard Elms, yeah. Okay. And this is he put that on. So he actually did a whole series that we're going to be featuring in for the Grammy during the Grammys. Nice. We'll do a music series here.
Nice.
And then we've got a local artist. His name is Darren Polycare, and there's just I just find it playful. And I like the waves, and I like to do, like I said, I like to mix up local with the different types of styles of artists, because this always resonates with me because I like to surf.
Of course. Great.
And then we also have Saskia Garel's work.
Oh, wow.
And this is about the wild things.
Yes.
And so she just, I just like the way she basically made a painting out of it, and the technique that she used is there's an energy to it, even though it's a copy of a book. I don't know. I like the way she transposed it.
Nice.
And then of course we've got a very iconic Andy Warhol. So we mixed the local with with a blue chip. That's a lithograph, and he also signed it. So this is a very iconic piece. This is good to have as a collector's piece for sure.
I'd love to do that.
And we've got a Dominican artist, and she grew up in New York. And this one has political commentary to it, and it's a, you know, when you look at it, it's a collage and it looks very pretty. But when you look at it, it has the Haitian vintage magazines. And she wanted to bring awareness and to the plight of the Haitians right now, how they're being detained, especially in the Dominican Republic. And we've got Paula Langstein, a local artist. Nice. She is, I like her take on the surfer. Got some texture here, and the colors, the composition. I like the negative and positive space. Yep. And then of course,
that looks familiar. What's that one over there in the corner? I like that one.
And these are this is
I
my
love
work.
that one.
The Lifeguard Tower, as we all know it, is very iconic. Yep. And I was inspired by volleyball because my son started playing volleyball, and I just wanted that perspective with a texture in it as well. And so this is a mixed media.
Is this a newer piece, or is this one from your collection?
This is actually one of my newest pieces.
Really?
I did this summer.
I didn't know you were still painting these.
I am.
Oh, tempting.
I am, absolutely. Okay. And of course you've got to mix it with some Picassos.
Of course, why not? Who wouldn't? Really? That's pretty impressive.
So these are the two Picassos that I just, so this is another entry level
for a Picasso, yes. But I mean, this is something that someone could really collect if they'd like to get some moxie into their collection, right?
And
it's a good place to start.
Yeah, and Picasso, they have the technique for the aqua tint is very, very, it looks like it's so simple, but the technique at that time to be able to get the black there it shows the master printer. And then this is my work too.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Oh wow, this is a very different approach.
I was inspired by butterflies and Art Deco.
Okay.
And so this is a mixed media piece on wood, and the butterflies represent freedom.
Nice.
And I just wanted texture in there, and I'm into the gold.
So is it paper?
It's paper, spray paint, and then we have Japanese handmade paper.
Wow.
And then also the medium with the glitter.
Nice.
And then we've got another Warhol here. And this is a good one for all the Hollywood folks, because we've got Shirley Temple, Jack Nicholson, Cary Grant, and Judy Garland. And this one here is Jonas Wood. Oh, I blocked it. I'm so sorry.
We can take a look at Jonas Wood.
Yes, Jonas Wood is amazing.
I like this.
I found him very early on in 2010, and he has really, this is another one that was great when he first started as well. I mean, he's still great now, but in terms of entry level, I was able to collect him very early.
Okay.
And then I also introduced, I love to play chess. We're actually going to have a chess event.
Really?
I'm going to have a chess event on Saturday the 28th. We're
Really?
going to have a chess tournament over here. Because Cerise Griffith, she decided to take found objects and make it into chess sets.
So these are found. Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it's very much into the reuse and recycling and turning it into art.
Wow.
And,
very cool.
And she did a really amazing job of really sourcing these things out. We have two of those actually. We have this one here as well.
Oh, and these are found objects. Oh wow, this is you know what? I didn't notice until you pointed that out.
So this is another work by her. So she does luxury chess sets.
Wow, very
with
nice.
found objects. So I love the approach and what it stands for. This is a mid-career artist. Her name is Kylie Ains. She has shown in museums and in New York as well. And I just love, and this is on burlap. It's oil on burlap. And I love her technique.
And Joanna, when you say mid-career, what does that mean?
Basically, she's not emerging, but she's making a living. She's known She has a lot of collectors. She sells regularly, and you can tell from her style that she's really developed her.
Great. And then this last Warhol.
And this is Warhol, another unique, it's a unique print. And that's another thing too. A lot of people, when you're collecting, they want something signed. And typically that gives it its more value. But this is a unique print. It's not signed, but it's actually authenticated by the Warhol Foundation. And so with that, it's pretty much like an original painting, because it is a trial proof, but he didn't sign it, but it's still got the same cachet as something that he had signed.
It's very
There's nothing
identifiable.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, okay. And again, where can we find you on the socials?
You can find me on Instagram at Garel Fine Art, and then also on my website, www.garelfineart.com, and 310-753-5786. So please come on in and say hello.
Great.
And buy some art.
And buy some art. Joanna, thank you so very much. It's a beautiful space. Congratulations on it. Much more continued success to you. Thank you so much for showing us this beautiful gallery. Please come and see her on Aviation Boulevard. She's open from 11 to 5, Tuesday through Saturday.
Yes, please. Hope to see you all there.
Yes.
Or here.
Thanks, Joanna.
Thank you.
Bye. Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that interview with Joanna. Again, wonderful, wonderful lady. Please go see her at her gallery. She's changing her exhibitions all the time, and she's very welcoming and would love to speak with you.
And Joanna, I can't wait to meet you. Sorry I couldn't be there that day for the interview, but I was in Italy, suffering on the Amalfi Coast, beautiful weather, through a vacation, so I couldn't be there. But I'm definitely coming to the gallery and to meet you.
And now that we're back, we wanted to also let you know that we are really, believe it or not, hard at work putting together episodes. We're trying to get on a consistent schedule because we've been both traveling so much. There's a lot going on. I've been doing renovations in rooms all across the country, and you've been traveling across the world.
Traveling, writing books. And we've also been, thank you for your patience, by the way, and your support, because a lot of this is kind of making it up as we go. Not all of it, but just some of it. And we know it's getting better. Like, you can tell by this interview today, but we got more stuff coming up. So thanks for hanging in there with us.
Yeah, as just like I was speaking about with the artwork and handwriting, the more we do this, the better we're going to get at it. So I think as long as we keep painting, handwriting, and doing podcasts, we'll get even better at it. So thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Join us next time as we share more stories from around the country and around the community where people's doing great things in our world. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, also at Instagram at Life As You Know It Podcast 123. And don't forget, we would love you to watch us on YouTube. Life As We Know It, Jonathan and John. So yeah,
we're pretty smart too.
Yeah,
we know our names.
So again, we're trying this new way of doing this. We might try it again. I like notes, but Jonathan likes to improvise. So we're going to figure out a good balance for that. So again, join us next time. I hope you'll see more episodes from us that are like this, but also we've got a lot more interviews coming up. I'm really excited about the one.
Very excited. We got some good stuff coming.
Yeah, so stay tuned and we'll see you soon.